you're saying, like when it's on fire, yeah, it's visible to a lot of people, and
Yeah.
more people are going to notice it, right? So I think that's a great point.
I mean, the main unit in that building was active, had an active German and non-German cockroach infestation in it, and my wife and I moved into it and we had to like gas bomb and get rid of all this stuff during our honeymoon. We came back to dead bugs filling the whole house. It was wild. Like I literally found as far as like the almost like the closest to being unfinanceable house I possibly could, so that I knew every dollar I put into fixing it up would result in $2 in value on the back end, or $3 or $1.50. I knew that it would be very hard with my lack of experience to not be able to make the house better. So, but I mean, I learned a lot doing that, and I over improved certain spots where I definitely could have made better decisions. I made so many mistakes that made me learn so much doing that project that the next product was better. And I think that's kind of what we're all trying to say here.
Yeah, no, I think I totally agree. I think it's just getting the property too, right? I mean, you don't want to lose money, of course, but it's like you're saying, over time, a deal can become a good deal over time. So the main thing is acquiring a solid base hit, not losing it. And if you hold it for a decent amount of time, it'll probably end up being a home run deal at some point, right? Or even, like they always talk about, right? You can't really change the asset, but you can change the terms, right? So rates might go down, you can refinance, or there's things that you can change along the way to make this a better deal, but you have to get that deal first. And I think that's sometimes what people, they want to run all these calculations and get these certain returns, and like I said, they're trying to get this home run deal, and they're just putting all these obstacles in front of them from even getting their foot in the door and getting that first one where they can kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
I think that's a good segue to RWO equities. I gotta say hello to the neighbors.
They must be like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, like, dude, it's hot as hell. But how can you avoid those beginning mistakes? I think you just hit it on the head, was living inside the spreadsheet too much, right? Like when we first, and I'll say when I first started, it was about, well, how to analyze a deal. So you get your variables, you get your numbers, and more often than not, I'm learning how to create an Excel spreadsheet from a YouTube video. So I go in there and I plug in the numbers, and the mistake of living in the spreadsheet too much, I think, is one way to avoid that, is driving, going around, talking to agents, talking to other investors. So I would say avoid maybe fixating on a specific yield price or cash on cash return, and talk to people. I was there too, and we're still there trying to analyze deals, but it's a good, healthy balance, I think. Get in the spreadsheet, run the numbers, create that buy box, but then other times it's driving, it's seeing improvements, it's seeing renovations, it's talking to contractors, talking to agents, talking to investors. Like, it was cool to be able to connect with Ned here and say, hey, what are you seeing in your zip code? Because, neighborhoods are different. You could have one zip code where there's certain neighborhoods, certain pockets are changing right before your eyes. And if you're not actively out or searching or asking those questions, you might not know where the value is and where the value lies beyond just a spreadsheet cell. So
yeah, so Late Start Wealth, I messaged him in the school community. I said, hey, I think you might like this live we're doing tomorrow, so come check it out. So but yeah, right now he said he's in the spreadsheet right now. So and I think I always talk about it. I think that's sometimes where I struggle a little bit when people do reach out to me, is more that I'm really a back of the napkin kind of guy, where I just kind of have this kind of quick, take a look, figure it out. Is the property itself worth pursuing, and then kind of figure it out from there. And I think that's why I struggle a lot of times when people do reach out. Sometimes, they're getting so analytical, and I'm kind of like, this is too in depth. I feel, and I think that's where sometimes I have a hard time connecting with certain people and trying to get them to like, hey, like let's maybe take out somebody, and try to tell people too, don't take relationship advice from me, but I also look at it like finding a spouse or dating, right? if you're just looking for a wife or a significant other right off the bat, and that's all you're gonna go out on a date with, you're probably, not gonna really. It's gonna be a hard time to find that right person. So to me, that's kind of what dating is about, right? You're trying to see what your type is, or learning to talk to people or communicate to the other person, and that's what dating is. And that same thing, kind of like finding a property, right? You're not going to find what property or what strategy works best for you if you don't jump in and kind of, test the waters, right? And I think, like I said, don't take relationship advice from me, but that's kind of the way I look at it.
I mean, I actively used a spreadsheet when I was dating.
You're killing me, man.
Dude, you can merge two genres there, the intersection.
Oh man, no, I can y'all hear the weed eater? Is that bothering y'all?
It's not
No.
bothering me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a spreadsheet where I went through and I think I dated a lot because I didn't know what I wanted to be with. I didn't know what, like, I did the same thing with properties.
Yeah.
But I mean, I understand the Zuber mentality of find your buy box and figure it out and analyze one thing. But my job is I'm an analyst. I look at assets all day. And so I went through and I did probably hundreds of hours of analysis where I would go and I would get all the historic data and I would build a buy box for an area and look at the last 12 months and say, hey, do I like the yields I'm getting that I would get here if I were to keep looking at it moving forward? And I don't have them anymore, but I went through and probably made one for most of the neighborhoods throughout the entire New Orleans area. So I must have spent hundreds of hours sitting there compiling data and doing this or that, trying to figure out the characteristics.
On the women you dated or the houses?
Both.
Said both.
Yeah, I mean, I dated a lot of girls, but I was also very transparent. They all knew, like, I was like, hey, these are the things I'm looking for. If, there's stuff on the list that, or we can be friends, but, I'm trying to find a wife. I'm not trying to find a girlfriend. I was very transparent about that. And I'm dating other people.
Yeah. But I think that's the thing too, right? And it's even just learning how to communicate and talk, right? I think that's super important. And that's same thing with like looking at properties and houses. It's like evaluating the deal, talking to lenders, talking to other investors, talking to other agents. So I think, like I said, don't take advice from me, but that's how I kind of view it as like, this whole setup is you're trying to build these skills, and it's just like dating. I think you're trying to build these skills to level up, right? But
I think a hard part people don't realize in the beginning, and I made this mistake, was I didn't realize how much effort and time you're taking from a realtor by going and looking at a deal with them, right? So if you go look at 5 deals with a realtor, you're actively reducing how much they get paid per hour every deal you look at and don't buy.
That's a very interesting, but like super true perspective that I really didn't like until you mentioned it. I'm just like, yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. That's crazy.
So it's the same thing. With everyone you talk to in the real estate game, whether they're a contractor, whether it's a YouTuber, everyone you're talking to